Hello, my friends. This is Thad Riley and episode number 283 of the Thadcast. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you've recovered from a couple nights ago with that presidential debate and all the intensity and the strangeness and the interrupting and the hollering and all that stuff. I'm telling you, that was quite a night. And we actually recorded a whole podcast yesterday talking about all of that stuff in a hopeful way, though, because it was called Keeping Hope Alive in 2020, right? Keeping hope alive. So today I want to talk about you and me being the first. Be the first, right? And I'm not talking about being the first person on the moon, which was a pretty cool thing. I'm not talking about the first person in your neighborhood to do X, Y, Z, right? To be the first among your friends to go and do this. That stuff's great. And if you're like me and you like a good challenge, that can be a really cool way to live your life, right? No doubt. But I don't know if it's worthy of the topic of what our world needs right now. So what I mean by being the first is in our relationships, and not just in, but within our relationships. Let me give you a great example. The Bible talks a lot about conflict. It really does. Like there's passages and passages about it, story, from Peter or Paul and his confrontation with Peter, to the relationship between the prophets like Nathan coming to David. And you see these people, actually, these are great examples. Paul going to Peter and confronting him because he was hanging out with the Pharisees. He liked sitting at the big table, literally sitting and feasting at the big table in the church with the Pharisees. And David had committed the sin of adultery and leading to Uriah's death, having Uriah die so that he could be with Bathsheba. And Nathan the prophet walks before him with the words of God on his tongue and confronts a king, right? Holy moly. And David weeps and repents, and it's so good. And Peter repented too. And they were the first. So Nathan, he was the first. And Paul, he was the first. They were the first ones in those relationships to address conflict, to get stuff done. I can't tell you how many times that God has impressed on me in my relationships to also be the first, to get things worked out. Now that's part of my DNA. That's part of who I am. I'm a reconciler of sorts. I like for there to be peace. And unfortunately, I don't always live that way. I think I mentioned the other day, I had a friend of mine who's of the Democratic Party, right? He's the leader of the Democratic Party in town. And he sent me an email about something I did. And he was dead on. I was deceitful to him on an issue. And I think he'd had it with me, and rightly so. And I have some apologizing to do to him. We're meeting for lunch today. And he had integrity, and I chose not to. And that was not good. It didn't do anything illegal. But I appreciate the message from him because he wanted to be the first. He wanted to be the first to bring up the issue. He wanted to be the first to take on the conflict. Now, I want you to think, just take a pause right now and think for me about this person, about the people in your life that you may need to have a conversation with and reconcile. And I'm just telling you, it could be everyone. Not by everyone, every single person. There could be people, multiple people in your life, a good chunk of people that you need to address. So everyone that you have conflict with or tension with, especially those who are in your close circle, let's figure out what we can do. Years ago, there was a mentor of mine that ended up kind of being on the wrong side of this, and he did some things to me that were not appropriate, to say the least. And I was really bothered. I was angry, and in some ways, justifiably so. That anger never manifested into sin. There was a justice issue of him sinning against me, and I addressed it very sternly and very directly with him, and no response, no anything. So a couple years ago, I sent him another message. Said, listen, we're both brothers in Jesus. We should work this thing out, and it's crickets. There's no message coming back to me. And I don't think there ever will be. Hey, listen, my hope is in Jesus, not in folks, right? Because folks will be folks. But at least I know that if I get hit by a truck today, I can go before Jesus and say, hey, listen, I may have screwed up stuff too, but I tried to open the door. I was unsure. I don't know why he's so upset. So I did try to open the door so that there could be some type of reconciliation. And to pursue such things, I think it comes to the basis of this scripture where Jesus is being questioned in Matthew 22 by the Pharisees, and they're trying to trap him. And he says, he replies to them when they're talking about the most important commandment. You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. A second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law and all the demands of the prophets are based in these two commandments. So there we go. We're back to that base, that foundation of our life. Where does it all begin? It begins in a loving relationship with God and a loving relationship with us with God. So that base means that when you love God and you embrace the love of God, you're living a different kind of life. You're not living the Bye Felicia life. Oh, that would have been a fun name for this podcast, the Bye Felicia. Hey, there doesn't need to be a Bye Felicia. We don't need to cancel people. We don't need to write people off in our lives. We need to do the heavy lifting, and we need to live in peace. I mean, imagine if you do this whole Bye Felicia thing with everybody you meet. What kind of existence is that? Like, anybody who crosses you the wrong way, you're like, oh, I'm done. I have a family member that lives like this. I'm not even kidding. And this person has lost big losses in their life, and not just once, multiple times, because they keep doing Bye Felicia to people. And when they're done with people, they're done with people. The problem is, if you do that, they might be done with you, and that might be it. That's how tough this world can be sometimes. And you may want to reconcile. They're like, you were done, I'm done, we just done. I ain't going back into your mess. You're not coming back into mine. We're just done. So when we cancel people, when we unfriend people, when we are done with people, we're not reflecting God's love, and we're not reflecting that second commandment to love our neighbor as ourselves. It's not just to love our neighbor a lot. It's not just love your neighbor a super bunch. Love and show kindness and compassion to your neighbor all day long, every day. It's deeper. It's rooted in the way that we would want to be treated by someone else. And we should love people as we love ourselves. We should care for and nurture people, especially right now, those people we're identifying that we have conflict with. This is what it means to be a follower of Jesus. It's a completely different concept. It's a completely different concept because we reflect the love of God out into this world to everyone. And that love that we are reflecting is the love that He's shown us. So we see that first. We embrace that first. We see good things about ourselves because of God's love. And then we treat everybody the way that we would want to be treated too. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love your neighbor as yourself. What is the Bible getting to there, folks? The scriptures knew and God knew that we were going to be prideful in some ways, that we were going to covet our own being naturally above others, that we would treat people in bad ways, in ways we would never want ourselves to be treated, and then we would justify it and make excuses. Not good. So God shows us through the life of Jesus, first of all, and through creation and through His overwhelming, magnificent love for us, what that looks like because of the way that He loves us. And so it gets tough. It gets tough because we have to take the first step, but it's okay. It's okay that we have to take the first step. It really is. And we may get rejected. We may get yelled at. We may have them take us down a path we really don't want to go. We may hear things that we don't want to hear. We may actually discover that we were way more wrong than we thought we were. And that's okay. I sit here and I think about all the stupid stuff I've done in relationships in my life. The regrets that I have when I chose not to show compassion and mercy, but out of hurt or frustration, I dealt a blow to somebody that I shouldn't have. When people come to us, which is a rare thing in these days, right? In the cancel culture, it's a rare thing. But when people come to us, isn't it magnificent? Isn't it beautiful? When they're the first and they come to us wanting to reconcile and work things out. So I would encourage you to be the first, to be the one that has a depth to who you are, enough to go into those caverns in the dark places of your soul and pull out those things that you have not resolved. And they may be old, they may be ancient of days, but it's worth it. It's so very much worth it. It's what we do as a follower of Jesus. We put all our hope in him and we let his love fill us, not people's opinions, not the things that people say to us. And if it doesn't go well and it goes badly, when you reach out to folks, when you're the first, what do? You come back to God and say, hey, listen, I screwed up the first time. Please forgive me for that. Thank you for to get me on the right path now to love my neighbor as myself. I pray that you will bless whatever happened back there, even though it may have been a train wreck, and that you will bless me and encourage me to live my life like this, because I know that you're good and I want to be more like you. Peace is such a rare thing in our world today. But you and I can't have a lot of it if we have massive conflict going on in the relationships around us. And there may be people that we need to keep strict boundaries up with, yet it doesn't mean that we can't offer some compassion, empathy, and forgiveness. It doesn't mean that we bring them in to our space. It doesn't mean that we say, hey, it's good. Hey, by the way, I want to trust you with this. Hey, this is super important to me. I want to give you this information and don't tell anybody because it matters to me. We're not going to do stuff like that. We're going to have proper boundaries and we're going to be smart, but we're going to reconcile. We're going to be the first. We can do it because we have the hope of Jesus. So we pray about things. We ask God to reveal those people to us. Then we ask him to bless those conversations. And we go forward as fast as we can. Speed is of the essence. We don't delay. Because then it's just like those things that, oh, I was going to do that and I never did it. So let's do it. Let's do it. Let's be the first. Let's move forward today. And we'll do it in peace and in the hope of Jesus and in the joy of knowing that we're made a little more like him every single day. Every single day, my friends. Every single day, more like Jesus. Be the first. Be the first. Well, thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join me here on episode number 283 of the Thadcast. As always, just a couple of little closing notes for you today. If you shared this with one friend, that's awesome. Or on social media, that's really cool too. Thank you for the last month. We almost did 1,000. I prayed for 900 at the end of the month and we got it up. But I was hoping for 1,000 downloads. So we almost did it. This is the month for that. And so if you share this with friends, if you share this with family, if you share it on social media, and if you do a review on iTunes, those are the keys to the growth of the Thadcast and allow me to keep doing what I'm doing right here. So listen, we will hopefully be back tomorrow, if not Saturday morning, with another episode. I hope this encourages you as always, my dear friends. And until next time, may you be blessed.